We mourn all the innocent lives that have been lost in Gaza, including those tragically killed today. For the past 8 months, President Biden and I have been working every day to bring this conflict. I'm speaking right now, and I value and respect your voice, but I'm speaking right now. We have been working every day to bring this conflict to an end in a way that ensures Israel is secure, brings home all hostages, ends the ongoing suffering of the Palestinian people, and ensures that Palestinians can enjoy their right to self-determination, dignity, and freedom.
Joining me now is Ohio Congressman Warren Davidson, a member of the House Financial Services and Foreign Affairs Committees and a member of the Task Force to Combat Mexican Drug Cartels. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. I want to get your reaction to Kamala Harris there. You know, she's talking about the Palestinians in this conflict. This was, I think, a pretty successful operation here where the Israeli Defense Forces actually rescued 3 hostages. Unlike what situation was reporting the other day, they were saying that the hostages were released. How shameful. No, they weren't. They were rescued. They had to go in this person's house. Now we learned that the person holding them was actually beholden to Hamas. He was a quote-unquote journalist for Hamas. Your reaction?
Good morning, Maria. Thanks for talking with me this morning. Look, it's rough to start the morning this early with a clip of Kamala Harris. It's disappointing that she's so concerned about Palestinians. I haven't seen her express similar grief to the loss of American lives due to her role as border czar, facilitating an invasion of our country. So I don't really have much time for Kamala Harris's views, and hopefully the Israeli people don't either. Of course, it's tragic when any civilian or non-combatant loses their lives. But you're exactly right. This was a daring rescue operation, and the only reason it was needed to be taken is because Hamas led a massacre of Israelis on 10/7, and they continue to hold hostages, including 8 Americans, three who are deceased, 5 still alive. And America isn't even pressing to get our hostages back, let alone the Israeli hostages. It seems they want to continue to deliver this message for Hamas that, oh, we need a ceasefire, we need a 2-state solution, we need, to pretend like 10/7 didn't happen. And the reality is Hamas should not be able to stay in control of Gaza. So much for self-determination. I don't care if you like Hamas as your leadership team. They can't stay in charge of Gaza, and they can't stay in control of the tunnels and the terrain that they use to massacre non-combatants.
Well, it certainly feels like Kamala Harris is getting out there more often. I wonder what you think about this upcoming election. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, is Joe Biden going to be the candidate? I mean, look at these stories that the Journal has been writing. Last week, behind closed doors, Biden shows signs of slipping. People are talking about all of this in Washington, and you've got a piece over the weekend. Who's next in line after President Kamala Harris? So they're talking about Kamala being in line behind Joe Biden, as you would expect, despite the talk about Kamala Harris, as you just talked about. But what do you think?
Look, I have a colleague who, a Democratic colleague, who acknowledged that if Joe Biden weren't president, he would probably be in a memory care unit. And like with all that, you still say he's going to be the nominee. And that's their view, as he's the guy that unites them from, New England, Northeast liberals to, Alabama to Detroit, Michigan. He's the guy that unites them. They don't want to go with somebody like Gavin Newsom that would have to defend his horrible record as governor of California. So they want this, guy that essentially everybody knows isn't really running things day to day. And somehow that's supposed to bring peace and assurance, not just to the American people, but to the world. And the reality is people see weakness. We've had to evacuate 11 or 12 embassies around the world on Joe Biden's watch, most horrifically in Afghanistan. But the results have been just terrible for American foreign policy and American leadership in the world to have such a weak leader.
Yeah, and in fact, here we go again. President Biden is apologizing to Zelensky, making a point to single out Republicans for holding up Ukraine funding during a meeting with the president in Paris. Watch this.
I'm not going to walk away from you. I apologize for those weeks of not knowing what's going to happen in terms of funding, because we had trouble getting the bill that we had to pass that had the money in it from some of our very conservative members who were holding it up. But we got it done finally.
Congressman, your reaction?
Well, I'm still disappointed about that vote. Remember, the floor of the United States House of Representatives looks like the floor of Ukraine's parliament.
Right.
We had Democrats waving
flags,
Ukrainian flags. They rarely want to be seen next to an American flag for some of them. And it was disappointing that we put that on the floor because the promise was we weren't going to secure other countries' borders until we secured our own. And that's exactly what was the play call. And I was disappointed that we had that vote. And frankly, the Biden administration, I have asked them since the war began to define what is the U.S. mission there. And they keep going with this vacuous statement, as much as it takes, as long as it takes, to do what? And, I think for the average person, they assume, well, to get the Russians out of Ukraine. And no matter how many dollars we send and no matter how unaccountable those dollars remain, they don't have the combat power to extract the Russians without more forces coming into the ground. They don't have the population base or the resources or the skill to deploy that many weapons. And that's why you see some of the neocon war hawks wanting American troops on the ground already. And look, if it really was an existential threat to America, I understand why you would want America's Army defending Kyiv, America's Navy defending Odessa, the Air Force controlling the airspace. But I think we see it very differently.
I got to get onto the border because despite President Biden's executive order, catch and release continues at the southern border. Congressman, Fox News has obtained an internal Border Patrol memo, and it instructs the agents to release migrants from nearly all Eastern Hemisphere countries. As Border Patrol reports over 2,000 migrant apprehensions a day in just 3 sectors. This memo says single adults from easy-to-remove countries. And then it says single adults from hard to very hard to remove countries. They are directed to just release these people into the country, release them into America. So this whole idea that Joe Biden has done anything with this executive order is still debatable. Texas Governor Greg Abbott told me yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures there's been absolutely no change at the border since this new executive order. Watch this. Can you give us an update? Have you seen any change at the border since Joe Biden came out with an executive order?
None whatsoever. Listen, people need to understand that what Biden has done, he's not doing anything to actually secure the border. In fact, it's the opposite because he's actually authorizing more people to cross the border illegally. When he stops the asylum process, there's nothing that Biden is doing that actually is preventing anybody else from crossing the border. There's no type of enforcement mechanism in place. And all that this new Biden policy is going to do is to actually attract and invite even more people to cross the border illegally.
But I guess, Congressman, he wants people to think he's doing something. We're 5 months ahead of an election, after all, and immigration is one of the major issues for voters.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He's just paying attention to the election. He knows that he's on the wrong side of this issue with voters, but he believes it passionately. I mean, he facilitated this invasion on purpose. He's for it because of the implications, and we shouldn't trust anything that he does. We should just fire Joe Biden.
All right, we will leave it there. Congressman, thank you. We will be watching your work. Warren Davidson joining us this morning. Stay with us. We'll be right back.